My name is Amelia. I'm 23 years old, and I was supposed to get married next week. I had the dress, the flowers, the venue, and the man I thought I would spend my life with. But today, I'm standing by the lake with tears in my eyes, holding my phone, staring at a message from Matteo that says, "Only 8 days to go." I should have been smiling, but instead, I felt broken. I met Matteo 3 years ago while working at a small hotel near Lake Garda. He was there on a business trip, and I was behind the reception desk. He asked me for directions to a cafe, and when I gave them, he smiled in a way that stayed with me. The next day, he came back, this time asking if I liked coffee. When I said yes, he asked if I could take him to that cafe on my break. That was our beginning. What started as coffee turned into something more. Matteo kept returning to the hotel, not just for work, but for me. He was patient, kind, and gentle. I had just come out of a painful relationship, but Matteo never rushed me. Slowly, I let myself trust again. Soon, we were a couple. He lived 2 hours away, but he drove to see me almost every weekend. He sent me messages every morning and remembered all the little things about me. With him, I felt safe. Our families met, and everything seemed perfect. His sister hugged me like I had always belonged, and even his little nephew started calling me Aunt Amelia. One evening, during a quiet boat ride on the lake, Matteo asked me to marry him with a simple silver ring. I said yes instantly. We planned a small wedding, filled with love and simplicity, lace on my dress, white and green flowers, and music from our favorite films. Every day felt like a dream. Then, just 1 week before the wedding, my best friend Julia suggested a quiet weekend getaway with my closest friends. She promised it wouldn't be wild, just food, laughter, and girl talk by the beach. I agreed. That night, we cooked together, told stories, and laughed until our cheeks hurt. I sent Matteo a photo, and he replied, "You look happy." "I love you, I told him I loved him too. Later, Julia suggested we stop by a small bar. Inside, it was calm, soft lights, quiet music. That's where I saw him. A man sitting alone at the bar. Our eyes met, and he smiled. He walked over and guessed I was the bride-to-be. He asked me questions, if I was nervous, if I was sure about marriage. His voice was calm but carried something heavy, like sadness. For reasons I still don't understand, I let myself talk to him. And then, outside under the stars, I made the worst mistake of my life. I let him kiss me. It lasted only a few seconds, but it was enough to shatter everything I had built with Matteo. I pulled away immediately, terrified of myself, and walked alone along the beach, shaking. I wanted to pretend it hadn't happened, but deep down I knew I couldn't. The next morning, I said nothing to my friends. I smiled, drank coffee, and went home. Matteo was waiting for me, smiling, holding me tightly, telling me he missed me. I smiled back, but inside I wanted to cry. The following days were torture. I helped finalize wedding plans, smiled at my family, and listened to Matteo's excitement, but every word, every look of love from him felt like a knife. At night, I couldn't sleep. That kiss replayed in my mind, a reminder of my weakness. 3 days before the wedding, I couldn't carry the weight anymore. I asked Matteo to come over. When he arrived, he brought flowers, kissed my cheek, and sat beside me. I looked at him, and my hands shook. Then I told him everything: the bar, the stranger, the kiss. I said I was sorry, that it was a mistake, that it meant nothing. Matteo didn't shout. He just looked at me, his eyes full of hurt, and asked why. I had no good answer. He whispered, "I trusted you. You were the best thing that ever happened to me." His voice broke. He left that night, and I sat on the floor with the flowers he brought, crying until there were no tears left. The wedding was canceled. My parents were devastated. My mother cried. My father stayed silent. My sister stayed close, holding me up when I couldn't stand. I started therapy because I needed to understand myself. My therapist helped me see the truth, that I hadn't betrayed Matteo because I didn't love him, but because I was afraid. Afraid of change, afraid of not being enough, afraid of disappointing someone who believed in me completely. And in my fear, I created the very pain I was trying to avoid. Weeks passed. I went back to work. I saw friends again. I started to smile, not the same as before, but a quieter, more honest smile. One afternoon, I saw Matteo across the street. He looked at me, raised his hand, and waved. I waved back. That was all. Two people who once dreamed of forever now reduced to silence. That night, I cried again, not from guilt this time, but from acceptance. Today, I wear the engagement ring on a chain around my neck. Not because I think Matteo will return, but because it reminds me of the woman I was and the woman I want to become. A woman who doesn't run from fear. A woman who chooses honesty over silence. A woman who protects love instead of letting it slip away. If I could go back, I would never let that moment on the beach happen. But I can't. What I can do is tell my story so that someone listening, someone standing on the edge of a choice, will stop and think. Because sometimes one night, one mistake, really can change everything.